Alright, so this video is a beginning video about slope-intercept form. This is part 1, and there's another part that goes into a little bit more. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so y could be any y value, x could be any x value, but the m is the part that we call the slope. So m stands for slope, and the b is the part that we refer to, that is the y-intercept. So y-intercept would be whenever I graph an equation, the point where that graph crosses the y-axis. So just as a quick example on this little graph I'm going to draw real quick. If I had this green line going through here like so, then this little point where I'm making the red dot, that would be the y-intercept, the point where that line crosses the y-axis. Okay, now slope is a number that tells us how steep the line is. Okay, it tells us how steep. And a lot of times when we're looking at a graph, we look at the slope as rise over run to help us know how to get from one point to the next point. So a lot of times slope is written as a fraction so that we can see that rise and that run. Okay, so what we're going to look at is how to write equations in slope-intercept form. And there are varying degrees of difficulty of this. Okay, so here is the easiest level. Let's say that I tell you that the slope is 4 and the y-intercept is 2. And all I want you to do is to write an equation that is in slope-intercept form. So if you go back to our equation up here at the top, okay, so if you follow my pointer, we're going up here to this equation, the y equals mx plus b. We are going to write an equation in that form, but I need to have a number to put in for m, and I need to have a number to put in for b. So in this case, all I would need to do is plug those numbers in. Put in the 4 where the m is, put in the 2 where the b is. So that would make my equation y equals 4x plus 2. And so I have written an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, let's try another one like that. Let's say my slope is 2/3 and my y-intercept is -1. So again, I'm going to take these numbers, I'm going to plug them in for the m and the b, or the slope and the y-intercept. That's going to make my equation y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Okay, or if you would rather, you could write that as y equals 2/3 x plus -1. Most of the time, instead of writing plus and negative, we just go ahead and write a minus, but they're both technically correct. Okay, so that's the easiest thing to do, is if I just have a slope and a y-intercept, I'm just plugging them in. Okay, now the problem becomes that sometimes we don't have all of that information. So remember, I need two things. I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. But let's say that the only information you have is you have that the slope is 3 and you're given an ordered pair. So let's say my line includes the point 2, -5. And I know the slope is 3. So I'm missing that y-intercept and I need it before I can write my equation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and refer to our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. But I'm going to plug in all the things I know. So I already know that m is 3, but this ordered pair that I have, that's really telling me an x and a y value. And so that's where those are going to go in my equation. So if I plug those things in, that is going to make this -5 equals 3 times 2 plus b. So pay attention to what I did. -5 went in for y, 3 went in for m, and 2 went in for x. And b is the thing I don't have. That's my y-intercept. That's what I want to solve for. So I'm going to multiply this m and this x together. So in this case, that's 3 times 2. So I have -5 equals 6 plus b. And since I'm trying to solve for b, I want to move everything away from it. So I'm going to subtract this 6 to move it to the other side. -5 minus 6 is -11, and that is what's equal to b. Now, keep in mind, I'm trying to write my equation in this y equals mx plus b form. So I need to have the m to plug in and the b to plug in, and now I have both of those things. So my final step is to write my equation, or my answer, which would be y equals 3x, since 3 was the m, minus 11, or plus a negative 11. That would be my answer. Okay, now I'm going to show you one more like that, just to make sure you get the gist of how this is all supposed to work. Okay? All right, so let's say that I tell you that you have a slope that is negative 1/2, and you know that your line goes through the point 6, negative 7. Okay? All right, so remember what we have. We have the m. This ordered pair gives me an x and a y value. And I'm going to plug in all the things I know into this slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So the y is negative 7, the m is negative 1/2, x is 6, and plus b. So then we multiply negative 1/2 times 6, or another way I could say that is negative 1/2 of 6, or half of 6, so it's negative 3. Since it's negative, I'll add it this time, doing the inverse operation there. And negative 7 plus 3 is going to give me a negative 4. So that is my b value. So we're going to go back and plug in that m and plug in that b to get our answer. Y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4, or plus a negative 4. So that's our answer. So in the part 2 of this, we're going to look at, what if I don't give you the slope either? What if I only give you two ordered pairs? How would you write the equation from that? So that'll be in part 2.